for intellect, whereas strength you're only going to reach 94. So maybe I'll do that and I'll look it up. Nothing here. Cold resist and a unfortunately low life regen. Life on kill and energy twister. Alright. So dump this load, pick up the stuff on the ground, put it back in the stash, and then reload. Too low. Nothing to help this out. Numbers are just too low. Anything in the 5 or 600 range, I'll take a brief view of it just to look at the affixes. For a one-hander, anything below that, and it's really even not worth hovering over. Unless it's got reduced level requirement, and then you want to take a look at the affixes. So, decent double life roll here, but there's no primary, which would be the only reason that having just 2 stats essentially, intellect and life, that's the only reason this would be feasible for a level 55 to pick up, just because they're potentially getting higher number rolls than they would on a natural level 55 piece. Very low on a 2-hand despite the natural crit. A lot of affixes here. Unfortunately, they aren't. There's no damage modifier. 50% damage modifier on this one would put you, really up close to 900, and then you've got a pretty decent intellect roll. So this would have had a chance. Strength and a smidge of life, and armor and maximum fury. I think they're going to want some resists on this or a natural vitality for this to be even considerable. This is not too bad for Magic Find Amulet. You're getting a little life on hit, some primary stats. You're getting 20 weapon DPS average. So this one probably good numbers because of the Magic Find. Nothing here. Really low resistol and triple primaries and thorns. So just a lot of wasted affixes here. One thing to note on a quote-unquote wasted affix, if you're a non-dexterity class, so witch doctor, wizard, or barbarian, dexterity, your first 500 points of dexterity are really attractive. I believe it's your first 100 points of dexterity, you're getting almost 5% dodge for the first 100, and then between 100 and 500 it comes out to about 2.5% dodge for every 100 dexterity, and then after 500 dexterity every 100 points is about 1% of dodge. So looking for bonus affixes, looking for kind of, as some might say, wasted primary stats on a piece. Like I've got, I picked up these Firewalkers. I wasn't really sacrificing anything because it's got a bunch of what I was looking for anyway. It's got a high primary. It's got a really nice single resist. It's got a very nice resist all roll, max movement speed, and I kind of equated a little bit of the reduced damage affix to losing out on a vitality roll on these boots, in addition to a huge dexterity roll, which for me, I think it's almost 500. I think it's close to 6% dodge. So I'm at 16.6 with them on, 11.8. Yeah, so just under 5% dodge, and that's right. So I'm at 173 dexterity here. So every 100 points should be 2.5%, and this is just shy of 200 points, so it should be just shy of 5%, which it is. So you know, if you're a dexterity class, nothing else, no other primary is really giving you that benefit. Strength is always going to give you armor at a 1-to-1 ratio. Intellect's always going to give you resist all at a 100-to-1 ratio, or rather, you know, a 10-to-1 ratio. So, and Vital is always going to give you life at 1-to-35. So, it's kind of a nice little benefit that some people don't consider, being a strength or an intellect class. That those first 500 points of dexterity really do pay off for you. So if you can squeeze them onto your pieces without sacrificing anything else, you're picking up a really nice little defensive stat. I can top this off. I can get another 150 dexterity on my next upgrade, you know, wherever it may come, and that extra 150 dexterity is going to net me a little over 3.8% dodge, close to 4% more dodge. So topping me off a little over 20%, just for looking for a bonus affix. Back to the belt. There's no life. If there was life instead of those other competing primaries, then maybe you could forgive the resist all because it has a decent armor roll on it, but it doesn't. These are all really just supporting affixes. None of them here are a reason anyone's going to be looking for a ring except for the magic find. You've got 2 out of the 3 here, but there's no sort of life component. Too low. Decent gold roll. If this the problem again being the helm. No one's gonna want just natural gold find or just natural magic find on a helm. If they're going solely for that purpose, they're gonna want the sock in addition to that, which will, you know, more than double that number for them. You can get a 25% for a pretty decent price. Magic find or gold find gem. The bow is not going to work. Numbers are getting a little better on these 2 hands, but just not enough to save it here. Competing primaries and magic find with nothing else to speak of. And again, you really do want magic find plus a socket to be able to sell it for that reason alone. Numbers are dropping here on these 2-handers. Nope, not gonna work. Your choice of primaries, a little resist all, and then a horrible single. Completely wasted affix and the durability ignoring. Too low. Really nice dexterity roll though, it's close to 250. Unfortunately there's no crit, there's no life component, so nope. Attack speed, crowd control, life steal. Some interesting stuff there, but numbers aren't there. If this had a higher level requirement reduction, maybe, but Generally, you're not looking for a two-hander. It really has to be great. You generally want a one-hander for reduced level requirements. This is close to sellable, but it's not going to cut it. You want the sexy stats if it's going to have a low numbers, and lifesteal and intellect are not sexy, even though they are decent. The problem with lifesteal is it really has to be a great weapon for lifesteal to be worth it. If lifesteal is solo, if it's not accompanied by life on hit, because lifesteal only really becomes viable as an option when your gear is at an extremely high level. So if the weapon's shitty, you can assume that the rest of the average gear level of your customer is going to be at that level. Otherwise, why are they buying that weapon? And if that holds true, then the lifesteal is not going to be working for them, unless they're making a mistake in the purchase and it's, they're working on an assumption that isn't true. These maybe have a shot. You've got a tiny primary, you've got decent vitality and physical resist. That might boost up a magic find roll, so take a look at these. But the lack of a high primary and the lack of any sort of crit chance on those bracers are gonna, I think, take out any real value. Unfortunately, this isn't gonna appeal to many people. A lot of wasted affixes here, and just for a level 62 to have not only is the pickup radius an unacceptable roll of 5, it needs to be 6 or above, but the thorns roll is at least half of what it could be, and the strength and the intellect are both, a third of what they need to be considerable. And then you've got your second worst. That would be an interesting challenge, to find an item with the most, maybe 6 or 7 affixes. There are ones with 7, and but find one where all 6 or all 7 are just worthless. Looking at each one in a vacuum, they're all negligible. That would be interesting. If this was a one-hander, absolutely would sell. But because it's a two-hander, even making this 147% crit damage isn't going to be enough. Too low. No primaries at all, otherwise those are fairly decent backup affixes. Competing primaries, but you do have a bit of vitality. You've got a very nice single resistance, and you've got a moderate crit roll. 5's pretty low, but obviously the other numbers on this piece make it a starter piece. So dexterity, vitality, a single resist, and some crit chance. Maybe you get between 50 and 100,000 for those. So I'll take a look. Arcane power on crit is decent, but the pickup is kind of throwaway, and at best that socket's going for magic find on the helm. So it's not going to cut it. You've got decent primary here and vitality, but then it just stops right there. Nothing else of it. 2 affixes is not going to sell.